as soon as there's an agent that can share information strategically for an intention, then I don't know if what they're sharing is reflective of reality or reflective of what they think will advance their intention. And that's kind of the key distinction, is that the moment we get abstract signaling, which language allows us, and the ability to kind of forecast and our ability to model each other, and your well-being and the basis of your agency doesn't seem coupled with my well-being and the basis of my agency perfectly. In the case of the partner wanting to cheat and get away with it, right, there's a decoupling of well-being and agency. In the case of if I'm a marketer of a product and I want you to purchase it, whether my product is actually the best product or not, whether a competitor's product is better, whether you need the product or not, I want you to think that you need it and to think that mine is the best, right? So there's a breakdown between what seems to be in my well-being and what seems to be in your well-being. So wherever there's any misalignment in agency, and there's the ability to share signal for strategic purposes, then you have a basis to have signal that's being shared that isn't just truthful, right? So then we look at, well, where is that happening? And it's fucking everywhere, right? To really gross or subtle degrees, pretty much everywhere. And sometimes for dreadful purposes, like, I mean, you got the prosaic purposes, which are basically market-type dynamics, which most of the dynamics in the world are market dynamics, or at least influenced by market dynamics, right? Market dynamics are fundamentally, at least partially, if not mostly, rivalrous. Meaning my balance sheet can get ahead independent of your balance sheet getting ahead, and definitely independent of the commons, right? And so in a market type dynamic, I'm going to be sharing information, and this is why buyer beware. But buyer beware is not just, check to make sure that the car isn't about to break down. It's also check to make sure that the information shared is being true, because if I'm actually sharing information as a service, right? And you're purchasing that information, whether you're paying for it with your attention that's being monetized through an ad, or you're paying for it directly or whatever, there's nothing that says I'm sharing true and truthful information. So in market type dynamics, the goal of marketing is that there is, say, as a company, and from the supply side of supply and demand dynamics, the goal is to compel the purchaser's action in a particular way, which means as a company, I want to do sense making for you because I want to control your choice making. I at least want to influence your choice making. I'm not actually interested in your sovereignty, and I'm not even that interested in your quality of life. I'm interested in you thinking that I'm interested in your quality of life. I'm interested in you believing that my stuff will affect your quality of life. But whether that actually corresponds or not, I don't care. In fact, if I can sell you food that is very addictive, or cigarettes, or social media, or porn, or whatever it is, that actually decreases your baseline happiness, but then makes you need another hit faster and is addictive, that's really good for lifetime revenue of a customer. And to the degree that my fiduciary responsibility is to maximize profitability for me and my shareholders, and so I need to maximize lifetime revenue of my customers multiplied by maximizing the customer base, addiction is the most profitable thing I can get, right? Where that's never in the best interest of the customer. Now, as a corporation where I get to employ a whole bunch of people to do market research and to split test ads and to see what works best and to use psychological insights and to be thinking about your choice making more than you're thinking about your choice making, not only is the information I'm sharing with you not just truthful, and it's a form of kind of narrative warfare because we're agents that are actually competing for what you do, right? I want you to do something in particular, you want to do what's best for you, those aren't the same thing. But it's actually an asymmetric warfare because I have a lot more ongoing team and focus now, especially as you start to look at a big corporation empowered by AI and big data and et cetera. It's radically asymmetric info warfare that you don't even know is happening, right? You don't even know you're engaged in. So we can see that, but all the way down to the little guy in a market, right, who's just peddling wares. his incentive is to compel people to buy the thing, not to really adequately inform them that he just marked the price up a lot from where he got it down the way, and if they go down the way off the beaten path, like the other stuff is better. And so this is ubiquitous, right? Okay. And then as we're exploring reasons that people share things that are not fully truthful and representative, there are of course things worse than this. This is, I would say, most of where the distortion comes from, is agency misalignment. Well, it's always agency misalignment, right? Mostly we'll call that market, but any sources where you have some agent, whether it's a company or a country or a person that can think about their own well-being independent of the well-being of other agents and or the commons, then there's a basis for them to optimize their well-being with some externality. In the same way we externalize cost to the environment, we can externalize a cost to the information environment. An externalized cost to the information environment is like disinformation is pollution to the information ecology, right? That's a kind of a good way of thinking about it. And as ubiquitous as pollution is, where we see that the snow on the top of Mount Everest is full of pollution, right? Of many different kinds, I would say information ecology pollution is more ubiquitous because it's not just big industrial players doing it, it's everybody doing it, and you can't even see it as clearly. But even people will create distortions in information for seemingly positive reasons. Like, first there's kind of innocuous reasons, like, okay, I'm going to write a testimonial or an endorsement for my friend's book because they're my friend. Even though I think there's stuff wrong in their book, it wouldn't be that gracious of me to say that. And maybe there's some game theoretic stuff in there, like they wrote a nice testimonial for my book and I want them to keep doing that, and so my giving the endorsement of my whatever credibility that other people proxy their sense-making to me, I'm now proxying that credibility over here, is not necessarily true. Even if it's not that they did the endorsement on my book and I just am supportive of them taking a positive step, that doesn't necessarily mean that anyone else who sees that I offered that testimonial and is using that as a method of their own sense-making knows why I did it. So here's the other thing, is a decoupling of the signal that I'm sharing with the intention that I'm sharing it for. And so I might be sharing something with you, and I have 4 or 5 complex intentions. I might not share any of them with you, or maybe I share one.